There is no better time to buy Bitcoin than right now, and I'm going to go over some data that proves exactly that point. This article was written by Jesse Myers, aka Croesus or Croesus. In it, he goes over why right now, in mid-early April of 2023, might be the lowest we ever see Bitcoin again. The $15,000 that we saw a few months ago are days that I believe are long, long gone, but we can still hope. So let's go over this. He starts out by saying, nobody buys the bottom. That's because the bottom feels like a disaster, the culmination of a year's worth of snowballing fear that overwhelms us. We see a red trend for 12 months, and our animal instincts start to believe that it will continue forever. Nobody wants to touch Bitcoin at the bottom. Everyone is too freaked out about how low the crash will go, and we all end up watching frozen, like deer in the headlights. Back in early 2021, I was paying attention to all the stock news, and GameStop this, and Airbnb that, and blah blah blah, everything's going to the moon. I realized at that point in time that I'm kind of an idiot, and I certainly knew nothing about investing, so I watched a lot of YouTube videos. And the one thing that I walked away from, super glad to have learned, was do not buy with your emotions. You have to leave your emotions at the door when it comes to the world of investing or anything regarding your money. You have to use data and cold, hard facts. And boy, I'm glad I did, because I started accumulating on the downtrend, not the uptrend. He goes on to say, everyone watches the bottom go by thinking it will go lower, so don't be hard on yourself. You're in great company. You may have dreamed of catching the exact price bottom, but this, right now, early April 2023, is actually the moment you can seize. And that's true of, honestly, any time. Forget about the recent price bottom, it's gone. Peak fear has passed. In its place, we now have greater clarity about where the price is relative to the bottom, not far above it. And more importantly, that the trend for the next 2 years-ish will, almost certainly, be positive. In my opinion, right now is the best time to accumulate Bitcoin that you will likely ever see again. This bullish sentiment isn't arbitrary. This is based on Bitcoin supply/demand mechanics. Those mechanics create a golden opportunity, a chance for people to lean into Bitcoin as part of their portfolio, to trust their instincts that Bitcoin is something they don't want to miss out on again. And this is that window. This fourth halving, the one scheduled for late April, about a year from now, 2024, is going to be a big moment. It's going to be big for Bitcoiners. It's going to be big for Bitcoin itself, the protocol, but it might be the biggest for the rest of the world as they're watching to see what happens. Every 10 minutes-ish, another 6.25 Bitcoin come online. They come into existence. And yet, the price stays roughly the same. That means there are people buying that amount of Bitcoin every time blocks are found. Here, Jesse talks about the halving cycle, something I was just going over a little bit ago, but he goes into it more depth than I did. In 2012, we had the first halving. 2016, we had the second halving. 2020, we had the third halving, and we are coming up to the fourth halving. And as you can see, the supply went from 50 to 25 to 12.5 to where we're at now, 6.25, and then it will be cut into half again, meaning the amount of Bitcoin coming online will be reduced by 50%, but the money coming in will stay the same. The day that Bitcoin launched in January 2009, there were 0 Bitcoin in existence. Eventually, there will be a hard-capped, absolute maximum of 21 million Bitcoin in existence. But how do you go from 0 to 21 million? The creator of Bitcoin implemented a very clever method, rewarding Bitcoin to whoever provides computational security to the network: mining. Something that no other asset in the physical realm has ever had before. The result is an unthinkable property. Bitcoin gets more valuable over time. These are the moments in time when the supply issuance is cut in half permanently, and it happens every 4 years. See the dotted lines above. What's incredible about this event is the supply-demand mechanics that it sets in motion. When new supply creation is cut in half, it creates a supply shock that upends the existing supply/demand price equilibrium. Suddenly, there is not as much new supply going out into the market to meet demand. This supply shortage accumulates day after day, and naturally buyers start to raise their bids in order to find willing sellers. As a result, the price starts to drift upwards. This is called price discovery, and it's what happens in all markets when conditions change and the price tries to reestablish supply/demand price equilibrium. Okay, great. But what has this done to Bitcoin's price in the past? If you're a Bitcoiner, you know what it's done. Number go up. If you're not a Bitcoiner, you probably are aware. And if you're either of those parties, or just anybody just on the periphery kind of paying attention in some loose way, we're all wondering, what happens in 2024? Bitcoin's performance after past halvings. Well, Bitcoin has had 3 halvings in its 14-year lifetime, in 2012, 2016, and 2020. And in the 12 to 18 months that followed each of those events, Bitcoin has seen its major bull markets. You likely first heard about Bitcoin during its crazy 2013 rally, then were surprised to see it happen again in 2017, and again in 2021. Here's what those rallies looked like. Note, the y-axis here is logarithmic, meaning that the visual space between $1 and $10 is the same as $1,000 and $10,000. The picture tells the whole story, but it's a bit overwhelming trying to make sense of all this data and the noise within it, so let's keep it simple. Here's all you need to know. As you can see, each colored line went up aggressively in the first third of the chart, down in the next third of the chart, and then back up less aggressively in the last third of the chart. That's the pattern. It's that simple. People who aren't knowledgeable about Bitcoin will dismiss a pattern like this as a chance to think it foolish to expect it to happen again. After all, past performance is not indicative of future results. The thing is, in this case, it will happen again. And to be perfectly honest, I'm right there with a lot of the people wondering if it is going to happen again. And this is why I trust people far smarter than me with this whole Bitcoin thing. People like Jeff Booth and Greg Foss and Michael Saylor and Robert Breedlove. The list of people goes on and on. And if you listen to those people and walk away thinking, oh no, they all don't know what they're talking about, then I don't know what to tell you. Nothing is completely certain. But if my understanding of this asset is correct, right now is the window in time immediately after the 4-year cycle bottom, which means several big things. The bottom is in. The psychology of fear has subsided. We are still below the supply/demand price equilibrium that Bitcoin will gravitate towards. It's possible we're already above it, but in my opinion, more likely than not that we're still below the cycle's price equilibrium. The current Bitcoin price is lower than you should ever see again. Of course, when you layer the short time frame price noise on top of the signal, it's anyone's bet whether that remains true. If the above is correct, Bitcoin's price could settle somewhere in the 30 to 45K range over the next year. Nothing super exciting, but still substantially higher than the price is today. Keep in mind, this article was written back on March 29th when the price of Bitcoin was right around $28,000. And today, we're at $28,500. And then, unceremoniously and unapologetically, the spring 2024 halving will arrive in just over a year. In the months that follow, the price will do the only thing it can when there's more demand than supply, and the whole speculative bubble process will play out again. I think it's likely that we see $100,000 Bitcoin, quite possibly even $200,000 Bitcoin within the next 2 years. What's certain is that the buzz will be back. The world will be trying to figure out why this Bitcoin thing is booming again, while continuing to ignore the supply/demand mechanics that are right in front of them. Only then will your friends and family start thinking about buying some Bitcoin. Don't be one of them. Now is your chance to position yourself in advance. This is the moment you've been waiting for. They'll say you got lucky. If you're watching this a couple days after I recorded it, then I imagine the price has not done anything too crazy or hasn't gone to the moon. And if you're watching this sometime near the next halving, the 5th halving, I'm curious. Did you buy some Bitcoin back when I first recorded this? And if you did, how you feeling?